A 9-year-old girl who died following an asthma attack has become the first person in the UK to have air pollution listed as a cause of death. A court has ruled that air pollution made a material contribution to the death of 9-year-old Ella Adoo-Kissi-Debrah in 2013. She lived near the South Circular Road in southeast London. Rosamund Adoo-Kissi-Debrah is Ella's mother and set up the Ella Roberta Family Foundation in her memory, which campaigns for clean air and better diagnosis of respiratory illnesses. And we can speak to Rosamund now. Good morning to you, Rosamund.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you feeling now that you've had a day to digest it about the ruling yesterday?
It's going to take a while to sink in. I think my concern yesterday was over my other children and how emotional they were. So my concern was about them yesterday, but they will be okay.
How old are your other children?
They are teenagers now,
Right.
and they've spent half their life without their sister, who had such a major influence on them. And I think they didn't come to the actual inquest, but they wanted to be there yesterday. And I think not just myself, I think the coroner was that concerned enough to seek them out later to make sure they were okay.
Oh, that's lovely. Every time I read the story of what happened to Ella, I mean, I must feel the same way that everyone does, which is, this was a kind of slow, horrific thing that happened, and why couldn't anyone help you or her?
Yeah, she was when I said that initially, people when I said she choked to death, I actually used that once, and
Mm.
I remember someone looked at me and think that's a bit strong, but then they heard what Sir Stephen Holgate said. She was drowning, which is exactly what she was doing. The actual mucus was filling up her lungs, and I was completely powerless. And I remember when I met him, I was saying to him, I used to resuscitate her and things like that. And I was devastated when he said to me, "You were just maintaining her. She was going to go sooner or later." And all that effort, which I thought we were getting somewhere, we were actually not getting anywhere at all.
Mm. It was a kind of a period, an intense period of 3 years. She had multiple seizures, admitted to hospital 27 times. I mean, clearly, Ella is the victim here. But what kind of effect did that have on you and your children?
Dreadful. I mean, it's something we're not going to recover from, obviously. Um, Constantly calling ambulances, constantly hair crashing out, me begging her to live. She would even do it in hospital, so there was nothing personal. She would even crash out in hospital, and I'm sure that did not sit very well with the medics either. I know they are trained, but when you see a child suddenly flatline in front of you, it couldn't have been easy. And I owe a lot to her consultant, who has to be one of the bravest women, who would bring her around constantly. And obviously, eventually, her small body, it just couldn't take anymore, as much as she wanted to continue to live, to fight on. But it has had, I never went back to teaching, so that ended my career there. Um, so yeah, it hasn't been easy, and I have never lied about that.
Mm, no, of course not. Why would you? Can you describe for people who don't know that part of southeast London, living pretty much near the South Circular Road in Lewisham in southeast London, what was it like in terms of traffic?
It is still busy now. I mean, it is an ongoing battle. It is the main gateway to Kent. It's the main gateway to pick up the Blackwell Tunnel. Lots of HGVs, delivery drivers. It's a constant battle. And being in lockdown, everyone ordering things now, lots of vans on there. And but what I'm concerned about is there are also lots of children who
Mm,
walk on that road and go to school. Um, Lots of mothers standing at bus stops waiting for, obviously buses, standing there with prams. So the battle it is ongoing. It is far from over. And, this summer it was gridlocked, and I was not pleased, as you can imagine, the amount of people that were being affected, i.e. children. And, the actual local hospital, 80% of the kids they treat, they have respiratory issues. So Ella's not the only one that's being affected. And it is not acceptable for children to be medicated up constantly, 250,000 children in London have asthma. This is not acceptable.
Do other parents tell you about their specific concerns about their children?
Do, especially what happened over the summer with all these low traffic neighborhoods and gridlock. So for the first time ever, I think people have left me alone till now, but that really was the trigger for quite a lot of parents because they could see how well their children were during lockdown, and then by September,
Mm.
children it has not been an easy summer at all. And I ask people who planners who plan all these things to think very carefully. Children are very vulnerable and they can't take breathing in toxic air hour after hour, day after day. They do end up in hospital, and I am still not pleased about the whole situation.
What about what we can do for the future and for children who are walking down busy roads right now? I mean, Ella is believed to be the first person in the world to have air pollution listed as a cause of her death. Do you think that what has been achieved in inverted commas can be translated into law to make sure that, well, to try to make sure in some way that it doesn't happen to other 9-year-olds?
Yeah, children have a right to breathe clean air. It is their basic human right. The same way I believe children have a right to education, because that's my background. And yesterday I hope is the start. Yes, there needs to be things put in place to protect them, and hopefully there's going to be a prevention of future death reports coming out next month. The coroner is going to be doing that, so
Mm.
let's wait and see what are the recommendations he says. It's very early days because this just happened yesterday, but I'm hoping that through her dying she can protect other children from going through the same thing.